It's Monday night, time for some straight talk. Make sure you get all my mics turned on there. Monday night, time for some straight talk. This is your host, Matt Hasley. Normally I start out with sports and stuff like that. Thomas, welcome to the show. Special thanks to our sponsors out there, eat24.com. If you haven't ate yet, we'll log on to eat24.com. Download that app for your favorite mobile device. Click, order, and eat. It's like a food truck in your pants. Also, hotsaucevault.com. Check out Louie at hotsaucevault.com. He's got hottest to the hot, wimpy for the wimp. He's got gag gifts, you name it. Normally I start out my show with, I talk about sports, golf, stuff like that. We're going to talk about that here eventually. What I wanted to do is talk about and give proper respect for, what happened on in Manchester, England. He's currently right now, as it stands, we got 19 dead and over 50 injured, and a possible suicide blast that was followed a Ariana Grande concert. It says, you think about that. It says, Greater Manchester Police said the incident was being treated as terrorism. A senior White House official told NBC News that President Donald Trump, who is on a visit to Jerusalem, had been briefed on the incident. Said multiple U.S. officials briefed on the investigation told NBC News the preliminary reports indicate that a single explosion took place outside the arena of the southwest side, opposite the Manchester Victoria Transit Station. So it was about 10:35 their time, which would be 5:35 Eastern time. I just, the concert was full of young kids. You think about that. It said law enforcement sources in both Britain and the United States had previously told NBC News that, at least 20 people were killed and that possibly hundreds of others were injured. Right now, the death toll, they're saying 19. But it was full of kids and stuff like that. So, I just don't understand what type of person would want to sit there and do that to kids. I mean, to anybody. I mean, not just kids. But, what kind of, if it's... if it ended up being terrorism, which to me it's terrorism. I don't care if it's for some religious reason or something like that. But just imagine being at that concert. I feel my heart and prayers go out to the family members of the victims and the people injured and the people who died. It's just sickening to think that. Scott, welcome to the show. We're not immune to it here in the United States. To have stuff like this. It's getting more and more prevalent every year. And the scary part of it is I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. People think that it's always somewhere else. Oh, it's not us. It's overseas. But we had it at the Boston Marathon. We had a terrorist attack at the Miami nightclub. We had, multiple incidents that happen. And anytime you hear about these, it just makes you sick. So I'm hoping that, they can find out who is behind this. They're talking about it being a suicide bomb, but I don't think they know. They've had other possible reports of other types of, suspicious devices. A couple of them were, either detonated or taken care of, but ended up not being anything else. They also had a report of a gunman that ended up not being true. So, yeah, it's it's you look at these pictures of what's going on, and it's a sickening sight to see what people are capable of. So, my prayers go out to the people of England, and they talked about, already that Ariana Grande is supposed to have another concert Thursday, and possibly canceling that, which makes total sense. And it was not in the concert; it was outside, in like the area where they go to leave. So why go through security to get in when they get attacked outside? There was a individual waiting in a car. Apparently got the explosion recorded. It was not very loud, but I'm sure there's going to end up being recordings of it and stuff like that. It'll come out on either live leak or something like that. But it's sickening. So if I'll keep an eye on. I got the news going here, and if there's anything new, we'll talk about that comes out. But you think about that Manchester Arena. It's one of the biggest arenas there is, and to have that that happen is just disgusting. So the current report we got was from NBC News, but over the weekend we had the AT&T Byron Nelson, and it was kind of a ho-hum playoff. Well, you had James Hahn. He come down the last hole. He had to do his hole out to tie out and go in the playoff. So what does he do? Hits it past the hole, spins it back, lips the hole, ends up shooting 71 the last round, and finishes one back. So he doesn't get in the playoff. Well, Billy Horschel and Jason Day went into a playoff, went one hole, went to 18. Horschel hit it about, 17 and a half feet. And Jason Day hit it up there. He had about 4 foot left for par. And, those guys, you get tour guys like that, you expect them to make all that. And Jason Day said when he played it in the regular round, in the regular tour round, that it broke the different direction. And when he got up there for the playoff, it broke the opposite direction. So, that's enough to drive you nuts. And he ended up missing a 4-footer, which cost him the tournament. So, Tony, thanks for the share. Thanks for the thumbs up. You look at that, you just hate to see a guy. I like Billy Horschel. I like Jason Day. I like both of them. I think they're both class guys. You just hate to see a guy win a tournament that way. You want to see a guy win it. I hate to see somebody lose it. So, but the region's traditions was Barnhard Langer, won by 5. He's just amazing. He's like an Iron Man. Shoots 69, 69, 66, 64 to win by 5. So, pretty impressive. Nice little 8 under in his last round. Yeah, that helps seal a win. Scott McCarron finished second. And Scott tied with Scott Perrell. And then Marco Dawson, Fred Funk were tied for third. So, and this is probably my favorite win. They had the Kings Mill Championship. It was presented by JTBC in Williamsburg, Virginia. Lexi Thompson won by 5. And I'm just happy to see her get on, get off the schneid after sitting there, with that, where I felt she was screwed over for her, that major championship where she got the 4-shot penalty. So I'm glad to see her come back. She shoots 65, 65, 69, 65, 264, minus 20, and beats Ingi Chun from South Korea, who was 15 under, and third place, Angela Stanford at 11 under. So she was 5-shot lead over second and a 9-shot lead over third. So, just talk about mopping up the competition. Lexi is just amazing. I became, she was. It's not I didn't like her or dislike her before that, but I didn't have a really opinion of whether But now I tell you what, I think I really like her. I got to give her credit. The strength that she come back and win. Some people that would just crush them. She went skydiving with the Navy SEALs to start out the tournament. Maybe that takes all the fear out of you, because I'll tell you what, that would scare the crap out of me. And I watched a documentary on the Navy SEALs, and it was how they got started, and started by John F. Kennedy signing an order to have them, to begin the Navy SEALs and everything. It was just really cool, interesting thing, how they talked about how they used rebreather devices. And it was just a cool thing about Navy SEALs. And, a lot of people don't know what the, sea, air, and land, and that's how they got the name SEALs. They do it all. I mean, those guys, I got one guy plays at the golf course all the time. He's a ex-Navy SEAL, and, very unassuming. You would not know it. But we had, with, the tournaments going on, coming up this next week, we got the BMW. Jordan Spieth switched over to mallet putter. Wow. He must got a brain funk going on or something like that, where he thinks that's going to really help him. Carl, welcome to the show. Larry, welcome to the show. We had, let me do is make sure my phone lines are transferred there. I don't think I moved them yet. So, there we go. So, we, to see Spieth go to a mallet putter, considering he went with the old, he used to putt with an answer style. I just think he's got something going on. And the problem is, he switched that putter all he wants. That didn't cause him to hit 2 balls out of bounds. So, yeah, that was, quite surprise for him to switch. So, hopefully it works out for him. Getting ready. It's coming up for the U.S. Open, coming up here pretty soon in June. This weekend, hard to believe, but my son graduates high school. My oldest son. And I always tell him, I go, well, at least we think he's graduating. Yeah, I think he will. I think he does quite well in school. We had, I got a couple things I wanted to talk about tonight. We had, here's kind of a wild sports story, but it's not really a sports story, but Indy 500 drivers, Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti, robbed at gunpoint at an Indianapolis Taco Bell in the drive-thru. They're sitting in the drive-thru and got robbed at gunpoint. Hold on here. You can have my helmet. Woody. That's kind of crazy. You think, Tony, welcome to the show. We have, right now, we got all kinds of auto thefts going on here. I don't know wherever you guys are located at, if you got it going on. But, we've had just tons of them. One night across the... I live in the area what is known as the Quad Cities. There's Iowa, Illinois, right across the Mississippi. We have one night they had 6 stolen in one night across the river. It just they're getting people are leaving their cars running. They're taking them. People leave their keys in them. They think, oh, it's not that bad a neighborhood. When I was a kid, at the golf course, my dad used to leave. I always go, hey, Dad, where's your keys? You know where my keys are. They're above the visor. He used to put them above the driver's side visor all the time. And so when he'd get in the car, he'd drop the visor and drop them into his hand. And start the car up. And I was like, he did that every day for as long as he worked there. And that was before key fobs. We didn't have key fobs like they do nowadays. But that's just, amazing. Nowadays, you can't get away with that. Your car will be gone. So, yeah, they're breaking into cars. They're looking for, garage door remotes in the cars and stuff like that. And if you find one, they break in, steal your garage door remote, and they just wait for you to be gone. Yeah, that stinks. I hate to see that, but I got a question here, and tell me, people, what they think about this. I got a couple things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about one about what they call people that feel that they don't have to have driver's licenses, they don't have to have registration, and they don't have to pay taxes and all this stuff. Well, yeah, it's great. It's called it's got a different name for it. I'll have to think. But also, we're going to talk about Seth Rich, the Seth Rich story, and a lot of people, if they're not, they don't know about it. Juliet, hello, Juliet. Good morning. Seth Rich was he worked for the DNC, and apparently Seth Rich was he was a staffer that was not happy that the DNC was trying to. This is the rumor it's going. I mean, this isn't for sure, but they're not happy that the DNC was trying to do is set it for Hillary Clinton. There's a rumor has it that Seth Rich was the leak of all the emails to WikiLeaks. There's a certain hacker named, I think it's Kim.com or whatever he's called, and he says he is one of the ones who helped funnel the emails to WikiLeaks through Seth Rich. Well, Seth Rich was apparently killed, and right now they're saying it was a botched robbery. Well, there's some story out there that, one, his wallet was never taken, his watch was never taken, nothing was taken from him, his cell phone was still on him. So they don't feel that it was a botched robbery. There's rumor that he came from a bar and he was intoxicated and blah, blah, all this different stuff. Well, they never interviewed the bar manager. So the manager at the Washington, D.C. bar where Democratic National Committee worker Seth Rich was spotted hours before he was shot and killed last summer told W&D that D.C. police never interviewed the bar's staff or requested any evidence from the bar, including the bar's surveillance video from that night as part of the investigation into Rich's murder. So, if he's supposed to be there at this bar, you think you would go through the bar footage to see if he got into it with somebody. That just makes total sense. If you're an investigator, that makes total sense. That he said the manager never asked for any other kind of evidence from the bar, such as bar receipt from that night. The manager did note he wasn't sure if Rich paid using credit card or cash. So, you think that he would at least, try to get footage whether Seth Rich got into it with somebody and had words exchanged, because you never know. I mean, nowadays, people will get into it in a bar and go outside and somebody will shoot the other person. I mean, it's just crazy what goes on now. So, so they, they never went ahead and got any information about it. Well, they talked about, and this is, his they talk about Seth Rich murder cover-up that might have some information going along with what they found out what he was doing. They found out that he was the leak, and there's a lot of sources that say that when they, it's like they've scaled back this impeachment stuff because of all this Seth Rich stuff coming out. Well, I don't know. I'd love to see him investigate this, because anytime somebody commits a murder, it needs to be investigated. I mean, why would you automatically say that it's botched robbery when you don't know? Let the evidence take you where it goes. But this Kim.com, who is known as a notorious hacker, he tweeted out this to Google. So these were all the counts of Seth Rich, and Kim.com knows it, and so do all the hackers who put together the pieces of Seth Rich murder puzzle. So it says they were talking about so the information proved Seth Rich was the leaker of the DNC emails sent to WikiLeaks, but the hackers found much more than this. It says hackers tied the first officer on the scene as Robert Wingate Robinson as being a running back for Georgetown while John Podesta was teaching there. The information showing that the first police officer at Seth Rich murder scene was Robert Wingate Robinson, who was running back for Georgetown. And then it goes on to talk about Robert Wingate Robinson's sister works for Hillary Clinton. This is through this article here, and this came out before it's news. It says, hacker says that they also tied police officer Robert Wingate Robinson's sister as working for Hillary Clinton. If proven true, this is pretty amazing coincidence that needs to be thoroughly investigated, as that is just too convenient if Robert Wingate Robinson was either the one involved or the cover-up guy who was first on the scene. The police body camera footage was erased. The police report shows that Officer Robinson, who found Seth Rich, and the other police officers were wearing body camera, but apparently sources said the body camera footage is all missing. Said this needs to be immediately investigated by the FBI, and now that Clinton operative James Comey no longer controls it. That's what they're talking about in this article. Said the hackers were able to check out the surveillance cameras all around the murder scene, and all had been tampered with and erased only for the period of the murder. What would the purpose of that be? Probably to cover something up. Goes on to talk about Seth Rich was identified as the leaker by the deep state using secret printer watermarks. One of the biggest revelations from the interview is when the source told every printer on the planet now places a series of dots and watermarks on a page, able to identify who printed it, where it was printed, and even what computer printed it. And more, he said less than 15 people in the world know everything that can be done with these watermarks, and these special software used to decipher them. So this is very important because the source told the Department of Justice demanded scans of the physical copies of the leaks be given to them, and the source says that this allowed the Clinton deep state to track down all the leaks back to Seth Rich. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could actually printers leave watermarks like that, but it makes a lot of sense. It said on July 22nd, 2015, John Podesta says he supports making an example of a suspected leaker whether or not there's a real basis for it. So, you think that, you think that Seth Rich was a robbery suspect? Do you think they'll ever go anywhere with it? Well, I guarantee you the Dems aren't going to go with it. It scares me to think that there's more stuff going on. I tell you what, we'd probably freak out if we knew exactly what really goes on in our government. So, I would hope that stuff like that doesn't happen. But who knows? What is it? Clapper stood up there in front of Congress or whatever. I remember that, where he had his hand down on his head and he's tapping his head going, they asked you to take, record and take data on American public. He goes, not that I know of. Yeah. He's flat lying to the people. So, yeah, I mean, you put yourself in there thinking about that they actually take data. And everybody goes, well, I hear a lot of people say, well, I don't have anything to hide. What do I care? Well, no, you don't have anything to hide. But, I mean, they talk about if just the things that you like. You click on, hey, I like this, I like that on Facebook. They can build an algorithm database on you to determine just about everything about you. Ronnie B., welcome to the show. Hope you're feeling better. We had, what else we got here? Oh, I wanted to talk about no registration plates. That's right. There was an article that came out, and this is, I've seen this happen on Live PD. This was an incident that happened on Live PD, but this is off one of the local Fox stations or whatever. It was talking about no registration, no plates, a look into rising sovereign citizens movement. It says, I do not need a license or kind of identification, this guy said, can be heard on video telling a police officer. He says, well, I'm going to place you under arrest. That's the officer's reply. No, you need to read that before my rights are violated. He handed him a card with explanation of beliefs on it. It said what some might call modern-day sovereign citizen, but he doesn't like that title. He says, God is my authority. He is the only sovereign that is there, or that there is. The Riverside resident believes that there is too much regulation in government, so he's taken his fight to the road. His name is Goodbody. He travels without registration, without plates, without a license, and without insurance. He says, insurance is a scam, he said. Knowing police will pull him over, he's always ready with a camera. He said Goodbody posts all of his run-ins with the law on his YouTube channel, Freedom from Government. That's what his channel is. But his videos have racked up more than 18 million views. He's now selling what he uses in lieu of license plate. The tag that reads private. Not for commercial use, private mode of travel. And often gets the attention of police on the road. If a cop comes up to me and asks for my license, registration, insurance, I ask him if he's planning on using any of those against me in court. Because he believes it is his right to travel freely. He doesn't think he is breaking any laws, and he doesn't need to prove to himself either. Well, for him to be driving on a road that is tax supported, they can regulate whether he needs to have a license or not to drive. You don't have a right to drive and drive on the road. So that where I think where one thing he'd be wrong. There are thousands of people with similar beliefs across the country who defy what most of us believe is law, and then post their confrontations online. It's impossible to know how many like-minded people there are, however, because there's no centralized leadership. The Southern Poverty Law Center, who would classify themselves as sovereign, said the movement has been growing at a fast pace since 2000. Some estimates put numbers at several 100,000 to 500,000 people. It says, I think there's a major awakening of consciousness. I can't explain why. I just feel like the people are finally coming out of their fog. You might surprise them to learn Goodbody isn't anti-government, but he's sick of government using police as a way to make a buck off him. So I feel like police have been misinformed to go out and generate revenue off the people they're supposed to be protecting and serving. He said he doesn't support building a wall because that would represent government restricting people's travel. He didn't make this land. He came here just like anybody else would, he said. So he says he wants to be free with his views and his natural-born rights. As long as I'm not doing any harm or causing property damage, I should be able to do what I want, he said. It's America. It's supposed to be a free country. Well, I mean, I don't know what your opinion is on that. Would you think that whether, somebody should be able to roam free or drive, whatever, without a license and stuff like that? Well, what if he gets in an accident? How is he liable? Is he going to go, well, I'm a sovereign citizen, I'm traveling, it doesn't matter, I can run you over or whatever? So you think about, what he should be able to do as a sovereign traveler, or what do you want to call it? I agree with him at some situations where I don't like it to be revenue generators, but I think that, you want to do is set up, you have red light cameras and speed cameras. Well, put the speed cameras in every school zone. Here it's 7 to 5, Monday through Friday was schools, in session. And it's 25 miles an hour in those school zones. Put a speed camera in every school zone, and then it's an issue of safety. It's not just there to generate revenue. It's there to get people to slow down in school zone for a reason. They should. So you think about that. And then if you get a speeding ticket in a school zone, well, you deserve it. What it would actually do is free up that speed van that drives around to go into areas that, are prone for people speeding. What I don't like is we have in town here, we have one area that's 25 miles an hour. The houses are well back from the road, and it's 25. And they got one of the main streets that they call it 53rd here. It's a 4-lane, and it's 45. And they're complaining about the congestion on that street, but they haven't lowered the speed limit, and they keep this one at 25. I said, why not up that road to 35 or something like that? I mean, they got one of our main streets here that people travel through. It's called Locust Street, and it's 35 for most of the street, and they have no problems. I mean, there's always going to be an accident somewhere, not. But to go 25 on a residential street that's so wide, I just, it drives me nuts. And they sit over there and then they, people get busted on that street speeding. So, and then they leave the main 53rd at 45. And I'm like, wow. And then Kimberly is on either end of it. They're both 45. I'm like, why not make this street 35 at least? It's just weird. I don't know what they have to do to change them. But my opinion is they need to do it is take all the school zones and put the speed cameras there. Put them in the school zone there and put the red light cameras on the stop. They all have traffic lights there. And put the red light camera on that school zone camera. So when somebody runs a stoplight there and they speed there, they get ticketed justly. So, opinions? It's That's what I think. I think it should be that way. We have what is it? This is a sad story, and I read this one. This come out on the news. This was in Dayton, Ohio, and I'm just like, man, I just makes you sick. A Dayton mother is accused of shooting her children in the head. Said she did it to save them from the evils of the world. I'm like, are you serious? So I'm like, 8 and 6-year-old died Sunday at a Dayton Children's Hospital. Investigators from the Montgomery County Coroner's Office will perform autopsies. It says she's 30 years old, was interviewed by Dayton police detectives Thursday and according to the affidavit and statement of facts, Miss Helton made admissions to shooting the children to save them from the evils of the world. Well, wouldn't she be one of the evils of the world? Wow. You just can't believe that. You know, I believe that, I can understand where people feel that this world's evil, but to kill your kids, to protect them, that doesn't protect them. Man, that's crazy. I'm just like, wow. Makes you shake your head. See how screwed up people are. I always knew that San Francisco was a little out there. But this one really kind of... It says... And I never thought you would have this in one sentence, but... A California tourist attraction is offering guests the opportunity to dine with live rats at its pop-up rat cafe. Well, you can go to New York City and probably dine with them, but not on purpose. You sit there and so the San Francisco Dungeon announced that the Black Rat Cafe, a 2-day pop-up show or shop that will allow visitors to interact with rats while enjoying a pastry and a coffee before entering the dungeon attraction. I'll pass. It's to be forewarned, the fare at this pop-up experience is neither locally grown nor sustainably sourced. The dungeon said guests can sip the coffee while seated at the bistro-style tables, nicely draped with red and white gingham tablecloths, and they're being surrounded by rats. Admission to the Black Rat Cafe is set to begin at $49.99. That's a little weird. So, spend $50 to dine with rats. Well, you could go to New York and do it for nothing. Get you a dozen donuts and a coffee and sit there in an alleyway, and you'll have visitors in no time. So, here's a weird story. You think about how this would happen, but man drives 14. A Tennessee man driving home from a barbecue festival in Memphis. I don't know how that came over. That was weird. But Tennessee man driving home from a barbecue festival in Memphis was pulled over on the interstate by an officer who spotted a man sleeping on the car's trunk. He said Carl Webb said he and his wife left the barbecue fest in downtown Memphis Thursday night without looking at the rear end of their vehicle as they had backed into a parking space. Webb said he was on the interstate before a Memphis officer pulled him over. The officer came up and said, "Mister, are you aware that there's a body on your trunk?" He did not register. He goes, "Mister, I'm not messing with you. there's a body in your trunk. So I got out, walked around, and sure enough, he was still hanging on, still unconscious, just lying there. Webb said he had driven about 14 miles with the sleeping passenger curled up on his 14-inch wide trunk. He says, I have no explanation other than that little lip right there saved his life, Webb said. He said the officer woke the sleeping man, who appeared disoriented and nearly wandered into traffic. I would bet he probably had a little bit too much sauce to drink. He says, I hope he takes a good nap at where he put himself and the hazard that he had opened himself up to. It would have been death, Webb said. The man had taken away in a police cruiser, but it's unclear whether he faced any charges. I mean, you look at that, and he's just dead asleep on the trunk of a Ford. So, how the heck he stayed there, I have no idea. Because all he had to do was curl, hit a bump and roll over, and he's off that thing. And he's probably doing 65 miles an hour. George, welcome to the show. You may having a guy. I just can't imagine, the response that you get in. Officer pulls you over, and you say, you got a guy sleeping in your trunk, and you're like, what kind of response are you going to get from the driver? And how he wouldn't see it looking in the rearview mirror. I mean, that would just be obvious to look back that way. Hey, George, if you're still listening, ask if your wife when she's going to do my henna tattoo. So, I'm waiting for my my henna tattoo. I don't know if I got what I owe for her to do it, so just let me know. Also, in this one, I was like, I just cringe every time I read this story. Kung Fu Master, and maybe George, this is your ultimate goal. It's not mine, but maybe you can ask Master Rick. It's Kung Fu Master uses genitals to pull bus down the street. I was like, ooh. He's a Kung Fu Master trying to show off his strength in a highly unusual way, using his genitals to pull an entire bus. The video film May 2nd shows the Kung Fu Master in looked like Guangdong province, using a rope attached to his nether regions to pull the bus, which reportedly weighed more than 13 tons. The martial artist pulled the vehicle a distance of more than 6 feet. I am in pain just thinking about that. Yeah. I'm like, I could never understand that's why somebody would want to do that. Master Wei Yaobin, known as the Iron Crotch Kung Fu Master, went viral in February with a video showing him and some of his students taking strong blows to the groin. I don't mind. I'm not even going to go with that pun. I was going to say something about strong blows, but I'm not going to mention it. So he says, Wei claims to form of Kung Fu can help men overcome erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation. I'm like, I'm going to take the little blue pill instead, rather than somebody swift kick me in the nads, Yeah, that's just wild to think that. I'm sorry, I'm not pulling a bus. Nope. So we there's a cool video. I think it's kind of a cute video. It makes me think of that King's Hawaiian roll. Well, this mother had put up a camera, and it was a video showing how clearly how her two kids had used themselves as teamwork to foil a device meant to keep them out of the fridge. And it's pretty cool. You go on UPI.com, you can see it. It's called Young Brothers Team Up to Overcome Mom's Fridge Lock. And one is standing, and the other one's back. And, I mean, they have to only be 2 or 3 years old. So it's pretty cool. Ingenious. So, yeah, there's a video you can watch on that. We had two different proposals that are kind of wild proposals at different times. Runners paused during the New York Marathon halfway through to get married. Mine would be pause halfway through to throw up and have a heart attack. But, hey, more power to them. And Texas storm chasers, and this is one that's kind of stupid, proposes in front of an oncoming tornado. That one's the crazy one there. I don't think that's a bright thing to do. They've had some of the, biggest names in storm chasing. What last year, the year before, a couple of them died storm chasing. So, I mean, it's not something to play around with. We've had already this year, just earlier this month, we had multiple tornadoes spotted around this area. February, we had a tornado. March, we had a tornado. I don't know if it's going to be an active year, but we've had some crazy weather. Last week, we had 90 at the beginning of the week, near 50 toward the end of the week. Just weird. So, yeah, I'm the type of person when you hear a tornado and they go, "Oh, tornado warning goes off," or it's, a tornado watch. I go outside and I look. I'm just that way. But some people go to the basement, whatever. Not me. I like to go outside and see what's coming. But they had, this time of the year we've had so much crazy weather. But ballpark. They're talking about. There was a cool story that our local paper did, and they did Quincy Times. They did about food, and it said ballpark food just ain't what it used to be. It says he goes, I guess you can still get peanuts and Cracker Jacks at a professional baseball park these days, but you can also get lobster poutine, Poutine. Lobster poutine steak at a Fenway Park in Boston, or apple pie nachos at Coors Field in Denver, or La Frida steak Fritas at Citibank in New York. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing Frites or Frites, Frites, Fritas. Or closer to home, you can get a ridiculously huge pork sandwich. That's the official name. At Modern Woman Park in Davenport. I'm going to have to check that one out. That thing looks sweet. I love it when you have to garnish it with a knife. A big old knife. Right down to the top of it. But somewhere along the line, ballpark food became ridiculously more complex than just a bag of peanuts or a box of Cracker Jacks or a hot dog that may have been sort of a hot and half hour before it was served to you. So... But you look at, some of these, it says it's kind of getting out of hand. Among the new items at Major League Baseball stadiums, according to Ballpark Digest, which I didn't know there was one, chicken bacon smoked steak at Kansas City's Kauffman Stadium. That would be waffle fries topped with smoked chicken, bacon, cream sauce, red pepper, relish, scallions, and sour cream. I'll have two. Fries smothered in all sorts of stuff are all the rage these days. The aforementioned lobster poutine stack at Fenway is comprised of steak fries buried beneath an avalanche of lobster meat, cheese curds, biscuit, and chives. I'm not I don't know. I'd like to try lobster meat. I don't think I've ever had real good lobster meat, so I'm not sure. At various parks, you can find various kinds of potato products topped with pork carnitas, cherry peppers, areola, sausage, jalapenos, pico de gallo, onions, gravy, sour cream, and every sort of cheese imaginable. That sounds good. It also becomes vogue to pile on tons of unusual stuff on top of a hot dog. The Rogers Center in Toronto features a Bloor Street dog, which is smothered in butter chicken, chili, lime, sour cream, assorted Indian vegetables, and chopped parsley. So, never heard of that, but... the Sunrise dog in Kansas City comes adorned with a fried egg, bacon, cheddar cheese, and white sausage gravy. That sounds a little weird. Just not your ordinary sandwich. Try the Italian grilled cheese at Houston's Minute Maid Park. It's hardly ordinary since it includes salami, pepperoni, ham, mozzarella cheese, pepperoncini, whatever that is, a very mild green pepper, and basil pesto on rosemary-infused Texas toast. That sounds actually pretty good. Some of these new offerings down at the Modern Women Park are a bit more tame and slightly more blue-collar by comparison. Nothing is being served on infused bread. So... So there's the ridiculously huge pork sandwich, which is basically a ridiculously huge slab of pork on a mismatched bun. It's sold at Burgertopia, which is the first base side of the concourse. I have to get down to a Modern Women Park, get down to a Quad City River Bandits game. Probably got one of the best logos for the minor league baseball teams. So I remember they got rid of it. They were the best-selling merchandise for minor league baseball, and then they changed it. And they got smart and went back to it. Used to be the Quad City Swing or whatever and stuff like that. Right now, they update Ariana Grande tweets from the bottom of my heart. I'm so sorry. I mean, well, that's not her fault, but it's sad that it happened at her concert. It says 19 dead, 59 injured in the Manchester blast. So I'm wondering how soon they're going to be able to come out with a motive or who was involved. I did watch Tucker Carlson. He was on, and he was talking to Alan Dershowitz. And Alan Dershowitz is, very smart attorney. And he was talking about this Russian collusion and, the Russian tampering with the election or whatever. And Alan Dershowitz, who said he voted for Hillary Clinton, and he was very proud to do so, he said, even if they proved that Donald Trump did collude with the Russians, there's nothing they could do about it, he said. It's not a violation. It's not against... He goes, what law did he break? None. So, I mean, you think about that. Maxine Waters has been going crazy over this, talking about impeachment this, impeachment that. I'm like, Maxine Waters needs to watch her own self. I mean, she's not one of the brightest bulbs in the pack. But, to sit there and, even if he did, what it didn't make all the people vote for him, for Donald Trump. It didn't make John Podesta write the emails that he did. If he wouldn't have wrote them, they couldn't have gotten hacked. So, it's what a tangled web we weave, as they say. It's just, I'm getting so tired. I've talked to a lot of people about it, and they sit there and they talk about, when are they going to drop it? So we have. This is a great product, and I don't know. It's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be an app or something you wear. I don't know if it'll be. Maybe it'll be on like one of these Fitbit, or I mean the iWatch or whatever like that. Well, it says new technology will tell you when to say when. With the long holiday weekend coming up this weekend, you might decide to have a little extra fun. If you're doing so, you need the first wearable for sensing alcohol. It's called Proof. It senses alcohol through your skin, and it's paired with an app that tells you what your blood alcohol level is and how long it will take for you to be sober. It will even make a decision on what your next drink or time your drink should be. It says you set the level to alert at 0.08 BAC, and Proof will alert you when you hit that level and make suggestions on what your next move should be. I think that's awesome. I bet you eventually it'll be an app right in your phone or your, the iWatch or your Fitbit. But I mean, that's where we're coming up with that. That's a great idea. Also, quick last story here. Wi-Fi. We're going to talk about that. Where they can actually see through walls. A Wi-Fi camera can see through walls. It said scientists have found a way to photograph people in 3D through walls using Wi-Fi. Tell me that isn't creepy. So they could take a Wi-Fi picture of your house and find out whether you're in there or not. Well, it's that time of the night. We're going to do a call of the night. We'll be back on Wednesday night. Hopefully our prayers and everything goes out to the families and, the family members and everybody and friends of the victims and injured in the Manchester bombing. So it's a sad thing that we have to put up with that, with evil. So everybody have a great night. Be safe. If you see something, say something. Tell people. Let them know if you saw something or if you have any information. Let people know what's going on. So have a great night, and we'll see you on Wednesday night.